Celestine. How are you?
Good evening, Elisa. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Very excited to be talking to Eartha Kitt today.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. Eartha is quite wonderful, and she came to me a couple weeks ago when I was reading about her. Just it was, not that I had this interest in her life, but had been reading a piece, and then she decided to show up, and she's a very nice energy, and she let me know that she wanted to be interviewed. So here we are, the day after Christmas, and she is famous for a song called Santa Baby,
That's right.
among a lot of other things. But she's ready and she's here, and let's start off by whatever you want to ask her.
Well, I was really interested to find out why she was, reaching out to you. I'm sure she there's something that she wanted to tell us or she wanted to say.
So she knows of Eric and his mom's work, and she wanted to be interviewed to tell her story from her side of it. She says because she quite often got a bad rap, like she was standoffish or mean, and and she wanted to take the opportunity to tell people about her life. There's a lot of questions, and it had meaning, and there was a lot of meaning to her life, even though it seemed to start out very insignificant. Um,
Yeah.
because she was the product of rape, and
Oh.
her mother abandoned her basically to relatives that did not treat her very well. She lived and had a very low thoughts of herself, and everybody told her how beautiful she was, but it took her many years to really feel beautiful.
When did she start um, singing? Was that something that started when she was little?
She said yes, she always hummed to herself, and it gave her great comfort when she was frightened, and when she wanted to go to sleep she would also sing herself to sleep. And she was heard singing in church, and that's how she says it took off from there. And she said it was her way, her escape, her passion.
Oh, wow.
Singing's what made her feel good about herself.
Oh, okay, so that was her outlet.
Hmm.
That's wonderful. And how did she like living in Paris? I know that she ended up finding a career in Paris. How did she like living there?
She said it was wonderful. The sights there are so incredible, and she was very much into getting lost into the art of the city, the Louvre. She said, and it's quite amazing to even just stand witness to the architecture of the Arc de Triomphe, um, and the Eiffel Tower, all of its stunning beauty. I was in love with the city, and I could do there what I couldn't do in America, and that was be free. And I danced.
Oh, wow. And did she experience any racism in Paris?
She says no. It was very much different than the United States. The Parisians were very accepting of her skin color, And she says that, it's in quite close proximity to places like Morocco, where the skin color is quite dark. Um, so to them, it's not like it was here in America. Just another person, another day.
Wow. So that, I imagine that must have made it easier for her.
Um, Very much so in ways. She says she still missed the United States, even though she was in love with Paris. She grew to miss the United States and eventually did move back.
Yeah, and I'm quite surprised to hear that because I know there was a lot of racism here in the United States at that time. So having that nice warm blanket in Paris and then moving here to race to the racist country, it's kind of a surprise to to hear that she would move back here. So was there some type of driving force to come here or?
Well, yes, she said the film industry brought her back. And because of the fact that she was talented and her talent was coveted, that true racism, it didn't touch her as it would the everyday black person that would live in the Carolinas, you know, or one of the southern states.
Okay.
By the time she came back here, her talented was wanted, and there were movie offers and singing and all kinds of things which cushioned her against a lot of the racism.
Okay. All right. Um, what was her reason for coming? What was her life? What were her life lessons in this life?
She said the hardest lesson of all, and the hardest lesson to learn, was rejection and finding myself in that rejection. Um, my own mother rejected me. That was the ultimate hurt that I grappled with and I fought with my whole life. The feeling of being unwanted. But it's what I chose before I got here. Um, and how counter to feeling unwanted was I wanted in many ways for my talents and for my beauty and for my voice. So it was quite the conundrum. I had to know one to know truly the joy of the other. And trust me when I tell you, I knew both.
Did that help in learning to love yourself? Were you able to come to love yourself in the end?
She said yes, but it took a long, long time. Um, when she was an older woman, it wasn't until then that she learned to love herself. And that was after it was like moving emotional mountains to finally come to that um, to that place.
Mm.
But she said she accomplished what she came here to do. She's very proud of the life that she lived here. She does. She says, you don't regret when you're over here, but if I had to do something differently, I would have come to the place where I forgave myself and saw myself as beautiful long before it actually happened. That way I would have enjoyed my life sooner.
Yeah, that's That's a hard lesson to learn. One lesson that I know Maria and I are both working on,
Celestine?
Celestine and I are working on uh, in trying to love ourselves. And um, do you have any words for us? Um, I would say 99.9% of us are trying to, get there. What would you tell us as far as, how can we learn to love ourselves better?
And she says, and this is the whole reason for my visit, was this question. And think of how it was for me to feel out of place and not belonging as a product of rape and an unwanted child, where my mother dumped me to anyone. I felt like I was less than nothing. Yet I was rich with all this talent, and I didn't see my worth because that's not what I was taught. What I can tell you about self love and getting there is this: no one can give that to you, no one can teach it to you. Self love is a place where you learn to accept everything in your life, the good, the bad, the not so good, the beautiful, the not so beautiful. And when you accept that as a lesson and you learn to love yourself, you realize that we're all so very important in the fabric of this incarnation. Every single one of us has an important thread and an important part to play. And when you realize how important you are, it's easier to love yourself, no matter where you came from. But again, that's not something anyone can give you. That's a place you have to come to. And when you realize your greatness and the importantness to everything that is the all, there is no other choice but to love and self-love. You love the source, you would love yourself.
Wonderful. Um, Thank you so much for that. And here in Coffee Talk, we like to ask Eric Meadows if he has any questions he would like to ask you before we end with the interview.
Well, he's kind of laughing, and he asked her if she would sing in his ear, Santa baby. Right? So that was kind of nice, but that's Eric, right? Um,
Yes.
but a serious question, Eric. You guys can deal with that later. Um, he's asking her, what does she think the greatest lesson of her life is to teach other people? Was there something else? That's what she learned was self love, and she's teaching that as well. But is there anything else that she wanted to teach people? And what would her life have been to teach people? And she says that even what you would call a mistake, my being brought here through rape, through what they would not call a happy occasion, has brought on such a beautiful and happy part. And my life, my story has touched so many people. Had that rape had not occurred, none of this would have occurred. I wouldn't be sitting with you here today. So there are happy circumstances and everything happens for a reason. It's all a matter of attitude and adjusting your attitude and looking at the goodness of everything. And that's what I'm here to teach everybody. I was a product of rape, but look, my life meant a lot.
Wow. That's a very powerful story and lesson.
And
And
she says, thank us. She's thanking us uh, for talking to her tonight. And she's very sweet. She's beautiful.
well, we are honored that you wanted to come and talk to us, especially with such a strong story, but a story nonetheless that is going to teach us not only to be accepting of when horrific things happen, but also to learn to love ourselves.
She says you're welcome, and it was a pleasure and an honor. And she'll come back anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we love you. And again, thank you.
She kisses goodbye.